We actually have owner and licensed clinical psychologist from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness, Dr. Melanie Schwartz. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So as the summer is ending, we're all preparing to get back to school, parents and kids. What tips do you have for helping the kids transition from a very relaxed summer schedule to the structure of a school year?
Well, I always recommend starting a couple weeks early if you can, because it is an adjustment. You're going from, like you said, a very relaxed uh, period of time,
Hmm.
3 months, going into a very structured, um, chaotic time because the school year is, you know, has all the extracurricular activities plus school plus everything else. Parents getting their kids every which way. It
Hmm.
becomes very chaotic for everybody. So if you can start a couple weeks early, start getting the kids to bed early, start you know getting them a little bit more on their school structure, making sure they're ready for school, start talking about getting school supplies, start talking about what they want to take in their lunches, start
Yeah.
talking about what time extracurricular activities are going to begin, when they're going to begin.
Hmm.
Usually they get a couple weeks in there before that starts, but not always. Sometimes it's right away. And preparing the kids as much as you can, because the more information they have, the less anxiety that they're going to have going into the school year.
Good point. Yeah. So, like we said, just start off a little bit early with the routine that you're going to go into with the
Mhm.
school year, right? Just to make it a little bit easier. Yes, it'll still be the summer. Yes, they don't have to necessarily wake up for school, but still get them on that sleep schedule. Still put them on that strict time schedule so that they can actually get used to that. Completely understand that. So, like we mentioned before, the changes, I should say, in West Bloomfield School District, consolidating from 5 elementary schools to 4. Roosevelt closing. A lot of kids are going to be split up from friends, possibly teachers, or even just the environment that they are used to. So what should West Bloomfield parents be doing to help prepare for a potentially completely different situation from a few months ago?
Well, change is scary, but change can also be very good. So, letting the kids know and empathizing with them that, yes, this is a big change. It might be a little scary. Everything's going to be okay.
Hmm.
They're going to make new friends. They're going to get comfortable in their new environment. Um, you know, Talk to them about what they're afraid of, and sit there and listen to them, and you know, just let them sit there with their fears a little bit. It's okay for them to be scared.
Mm,
That's very normal right now. You don't
okay.
have to fix it for them. Okay? You just have to sit there and listen to them and just say, "Okay." And if you have some ideas for some solutions to some of their concerns, then feel free to talk to them about it. But it's
Right.
also okay to say, like, "Yes, this is a very scary situation to go from what you're used to something new." But also, it can be a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Ooh, I love that perspective first and foremost, but that's a scary thing for parents to
Mhm.
let your child like face their fears ultimately.
Yes.
But on the
Yes.
other side of that, for anybody, on the other side of your fear is success, is greater things, is elevation, and things of that development. So I get that.
Mhm.
I get that. And thank you
Mhm.
for adding that. And with us right here live on the splash from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness owner and licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Melanie Schwartz, talking about how we can prepare ourselves and our children for the transition going back to school. Now, we talked about going from the summer to the school year, changing schools in some sort. Now, let's talk about going to school for the very first time. What are some effective strategies that parents can use to prepare their young children who are going to school for the first time to help ease that separation anxiety?
Talk about how exciting it is. Okay. All the fun things that they're going to get to do at school. Because, of course, the kids are going to be scared. It's something they've never done before,
Hmm.
it's brand new. And that's for anything. If you're going from, you know, no school to kindergarten, if you're going from preschool to kindergarten, if you're going from elementary to middle, middle to high, high to college,
Right.
of course there's going to be anticipation anxiety because they don't know what to expect, and that's again just very normal. But let's talk about how exciting it is, and all of the changes that are going to come are good changes. This is all good stuff for
Yeah.
everybody. And the kids will be able to see it once they get in and they see what, what school is all about and what the new environment is all about. And it's great for them. But until then, try to focus on the positives. They're going to be focused on the negatives, not seeing mom or dad
Mm-hmm.
or their siblings, 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different environment. It might be a little easier if they're not the first child going to school, if they've seen their siblings go, then, the siblings I'm sure are talking about it and how much fun it is. Then you can also use, well, you'll be at school with your siblings, which
Right.
is also a fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different aspects and ways you can approach it, but try to focus on the positive because they're going to be focused on what they're afraid of and the negatives, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the excitement of.
Exactly. No, you landed that plane perfectly right there. Now that's one side of the coin with that situation. I want to look at the other side, the actual parents. Parents can get separation anxiety too. We've actually had
Yes.
some educators on the show who talked about parents dropping their kids off and crying as they're dropping their children off. How can parents deal with the separation anxiety?
They need to stay busy. Parents need to stay busy because, it's when they've had their children 24/7
Yeah.
and now they're losing that control,
Yeah.
it can be a very difficult separation for them. So
Mm-hmm.
plan things out to stay busy, things you've wanted to do, how you're going to maintain your days if your kids are at school or one kid's going to school. Just don't sit there and think about it too much because your kid's having a great time. Okay. Even if it's a little bit of a struggle at first, they're going to get past that. They're going to move on.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting there and you're thinking, that's the worst thing you can do. You need to be able to, keep your mind busy and focus on other things that you want to be doing or things that you have to do, responsibilities. But sitting there and thinking about it is I always say thinking
Yeah.
sometimes can be not good for you.
Oh yeah, thinking you'll run your mind crazy,
Mm-hmm.
just thinking about all the different things, that you can't control at the time. Yes, just keep yourself
Yes.
busy. So, and join us right here on the Splash Live, just talking a little bit more, preparing ourselves mentally and emotionally for that transition going back to school. We have Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness. Is it the same for parents and for students going from high school to college? I mean, as far as dealing with separation anxiety, because some students could leave high school in the town that they're used to and go to college, and they can be excited at first, but then when they get there, something completely different. Or same thing with parents. Once you're becoming an empty nester.
Mm-hmm.
How are those things handled also from your perspective?
I think, for kids going to college, and I this is one of my favorite populations that I work with, and again, it's really just the anticipation anxiety, and it's still handled the same way
Right.
of you know all the exciting pieces of moving away for the first time and living on your own and making new friends and all the fun things that college brings. But at the same time, it's okay to have that anxiety because you don't know what you're walking into.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, be empathetic to them, talk to them about their fears. It is really very similar from the child perspective of what
Right.
you're going to do. And, you know, let them sit there with their fears. It's okay. They're not going to know till they get there and they make their friends. A lot of us have been there. It is a very scary thing. I remember my
Mm-hmm.
first day or my first, summer before going to college. It's scary. It is. You
Yes.
don't know. You're used to the comfort of your home,
Yes.
and now you're leaving and going to be on your own. And, a lot of them, their feelings are, this is my first time as an adult. And I always say to them, yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. But this is a good thing. And it's kind of like a soft launch into adulthood.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you still have some comforts from your parents are still there for you if you need them. They're still, there to support you in any way that you need. So just utilize them. You're not completely on your own. Okay.
Exactly.
From the parent perspective, it's the same thing. This empty nest thing. My sister-in-law is about to become an empty nester, and they just planned a trip
Okay.
immediately after their youngest goes off to college because that's how they're going to handle it. And I think that was probably one of the best things they could have done to not have, to focus on sitting there and wondering how their son is handling his first few weeks at college.
Yeah.
So better they went and they're doing their own thing and enjoying their time. Again, it goes back to really, how are you going to live your life without kids in the home? You
Ooh,
know, it's a big deal.
yeah.
It's a big deal. And what do you want this part of your life to look like? It is a transition. It is, one that takes a little time to get used to
Hmm.
and figuring out the next steps. Even if you do have one child still at home, it still looks different because for 18 years you've had two
Correct.
children at home, or
Correct.
three children, whatever it is. And so it looks different, but there's an adjustment period. It's still an exciting time, and everybody adjusts to what this new life looks like for them.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving
Yes.
emotions, but overall, it's growth.
Yes.
We're gonna experience growing pains, but like we said, it's a little bit on the
Mhm.
student side, the kids, as well as the parents. We all have to essentially deal with it. And I know with our population here in the Greater West Bloomfield area, we have a lot of parents who are getting into that empty nester stage,
Yes.
as we just showed a lot of our class of 2024 graduating from West Bloomfield High School. So we
Mhm.
appreciate your perspective, your answers, your professionalism, expertise, any additional information that you want to give the community before we let you go.
Absolutely. This is all of this is normal. Change is normal. Transitions are normal. Anticipation anxiety is normal. However, if you're noticing that things are a little more complicated than that, there's, a more complicated level of anxiety or
Hmm.
some depression that's creeping in, then seek out some help from
Uh,
a therapist, from family, from the schools, wherever you can seek support, because it is a transition and sometimes transitions are a little harder for some people than others. So make sure that you get the support that you need.
Well said, well said. And we appreciate that again. Thank you from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness, owner and licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Melanie Schwartz. We appreciate your
Mhm.
information again.
Of course.